Welcome to another podcast episode of the Changing the Culture podcast with your host, me, Autumn Clifford. I'm really excited to be here with you. Today, I have a special guest who we're going to be introducing in just a few minutes. But before I get there, I want to talk to you about a topic that's been really weighing on my mind, and that's individuality. And so, my question to you is, how have you been like yourself recently? Look, with everything going on in the media and everything going on in the world, I think it's very easy. It's very easy to get caught up in everybody else's opinions and thoughts and where you should land and how you should be feeling and all of this shit. But it becomes harder and harder to be individualized and be your own person in your true self when all we see is if you believe in this, then this, and if you do this, then you're this, and right, and it's very easy to get caught up in all of that. I think that now is a better time than ever to take a break from social media. To be honest with you, I just got myself onto a platform called the Parlor app. And so you can come hang out with me on there if you want. It's much more conservative. It's a much more conservative app. It's essentially, they're calling it like a non-bias social media platform, as far as like they're not blocking anything. So basically everybody can go on there and say whatever they want. Whereas, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, a lot of things get blocked. A lot of things get taken down. Well, this social media platform was built to not do that. So you can come and hang out with me over there at Officer Autumn. And so far, it's been fun to see what's going on. I mean, it's still very political. But at the end of the day, if we set politics aside for a second, I really want you to reflect and ask yourself how you're being an individual. I know every single day I'm out there and I'm putting my heart and my passions first. You're going to hear today, we have a special guest. Her name is Carrie Wooten. She's a former police officer and she's doing the exact same. She's out there. She's, doing what she is very passionate about. She's out there helping police departments, helping officers as well to survive their job. And so, and I'm out here and I'm doing my thing as well, right? You know what I'm doing. I'm putting my best foot forward. I'm all about, self-help. I'm for first responders. I'm all about first responders, surviving the job on duty and off. I'm really about changing the culture, hence the podcast name. And that's not new. If you've been following me for any amount of time, you know that's what I talk about constantly. And what I want to say is it's during these times that it's very important that we all are who we are and we stay true to ourselves and we stay individualized. So reflect on that for just a few minutes as, we get into Miss Carrie's interview. Is a really nice one. And at the end, you're going to hear some mastermind members talk to her if you're interested in being a part of something that is completely next level. It's called the Next Level First Responder. It's a mastermind. It is not a program. You're not getting all this training. You're not getting bombarded with content. It's actually conversations, mind-expanding conversations with people, brilliant experts, such as Carrie, such as people like Dr. Kevin Gilmartin, the author of The Emotional Survival of Law Enforcement, Lieutenant Colonel David Grossman, who is very famous in our world. Actually, we just had the opportunity to talk to a former Navy SEAL. His name is Jason Redman. He's absolutely wonderful. But anyways, this mastermind, there's nothing else like it out there. And it is something that has been really life-changing. It's been really foundational for these officers. And I have some spouses, dispatchers in there that really, they've said to me like this mastermind is what's kept me going. Everything has been really hard, but just having these conversations, showing up and seeing these people, having the support, it's been unlike anything I've ever experienced. And so that's been really wonderful. So if that's something you're interested in, check the link down in the show notes. Come and hang out, learn about it. And you're more than welcome to join. Also in the show notes is Carrie has provided a link to what she was talking about. She has a very special program, and she was talking about that. And so I have put the link in the show notes as well. I hope you enjoy the show. What's up, everybody? What's going on, Sheepdog Nation? I'm so excited to have you here. Carrie, I'm so excited to have you here. Can you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. First of all, thanks for having me. Super excited to be here. And yeah, my name is Carrie Wooten. I am a prior law enforcement, got out a couple years ago, and now I'm the founder and president of Mindset Enterprise, which is a training and consulting company. And we focus predominantly on first responders in our training.
It's amazing. I love that. So tell me, let's back up a minute and tell me a little bit about your law enforcement career.
Yeah, sure. So I did about 7 years in law enforcement. I was not that person who like wanted to be a cop from when I was like 5, 6 years old. Wasn't into it until like late in college. Got the agency I wanted, went to a large city agency. Everything was great. One kid came along, 2 kids came along. Married to a Marine, so we did all the deploying, shift work, all the fun stuff.
Yeah.
And then I got out after I had my second kid. So now I get to work from home. And now I have a third kid. So I guess that kept repeating. But yeah, so now I get to just give back and help law enforcement with a lot of the things I know firsthand we really struggle with in the profession.
Yeah. Was it hard for you to get out of law enforcement?
Oh my gosh, it was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It seriously was. So I worked for 2 agencies. The first agency was like the dream agency, the one I put in for. Like life was good. It was phenomenal. And then we got military orders, of course, and moved to another state, went to the agency that was hiring, right? Well, I mean, went where I could get paid and do my job. And it wasn't an agency I would have picked. And then fortunately, unfortunately, blessings and the curse kind of thing.
Yeah.
It was really corrupt. It was entirely toxic. Like it was all the negative pieces of law enforcement, unfortunately. But then I got to see it.
Mm-hmm.
So then I'm like, hey, if this happened to me, then it's happening to cops all over the country. And I got like a taste of that toxic cancer and how it like crept into my marriage, how it crept into how I was parenting, all the negative things. And that's when I left and was like, all right, how do I fix it? What do I do so other people don't have to be miserable like I was the last 2 years of my law enforcement career?
Yeah. Wow. So would you say that, did you face any shit because you were a woman in like your second agency?
The second one, yes, because I was their first one.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah. So, for first agency, there were 900, 900 sworn. So even on the squad, you could kind of be the token female, but you weren't the only one.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it was probably like more of the standard representation of law enforcement. The second agency, small town, a little bit further south. It was just different where they were like, oh, we were actually told not to talk to you because we might say something inappropriate and you might sue.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, wait, that's also not okay.
No.
Let me help you. So I kind of had to train the agency on like how to work with me. Which was interesting. It was fun. It was a different kind of challenge and a lot of lessons learned from it.
Yeah. Well, so that helped you into what you do today. So can you get specific with us? Like let's say I have a PD that is just super screwed up. Like what can you do? Tell me about that.
Yeah. So first of all, it doesn't even have to be screwed up, which is the awesome thing. It's
cool.
For anybody. Overall, I have a lot of programs, but my programming focuses on decreasing stress and anxiety in the officers while simultaneously increasing retention and morale. I mean, we get those things sorted out.
Yeah.
And now you see true leadership and you see culture shifting and you see better service to your community. It's like all the things that are connected and really what we're supposed to be doing in law enforcement anyway, like serving our communities.
Wouldn't you agree? Like one of the things that I stand on, I say all the time is, wouldn't you agree that if we can change the inner workings of the culture, the stress, the lack of leadership and all the mindset, if we can change all of that, don't you think that we're going to see a completely different, like policing out in the public? I mean, our officers are going to be completely different.
Yeah. It's once you change that culture, I mean, look at it. We're our own worst enemy,
Mm-hmm.
right? And everyone says, oh, it's the citizens, or this is hard, or that is hard. Most officers don't lose sleep over how they communicate with a citizen that day. It's the supervisor that they can't stand working for.
Mm-hmm.
It's the grumpy, toxic guy on patrol with 25 years who just complains during muster and briefings. You know,
Mm-hmm.
those are the things that really stress cops out. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
aside from any understandable like trauma, PTSD related kind of stuff, but the day to day
Yeah.
is all the internal communication and internal affairs. So I
Mm-hmm.
completely agree with you. We fix that and we like actually have our brothers' backs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in every sense of the word.
Mm-hmm.
Now you get that camaraderie that's printed on the recruiting posters.
Mm.
And we like fulfill that actual image of, this is, brothers and sisters in blue, like this is a real unit, like this is a team, and this is a positive culture. Now we're here to help everybody else, to help those who can't help themselves. And
Mm.
now the public perception changes, the level
Yes.
of service increases. I mean, now you're talking about phenomenal law enforcement professionals.
Agreed. I couldn't agree more. So let me ask you this. What's your first, like, what is like the first thing, do you like reduce their stress? Like
Hmm.
how do you reduce their stress? Can you give somebody like a tip, like a practical tip?
Yeah, so I do everything with personal development first. Okay, all leadership training, everyone does the textbook stuff. It's nice. We've all been there. It sort of works.
Mm, right.
So you go back to the person, right? The person behind the badge.
Mm-hmm.
And I start with gratitude practice.
Mm-hmm.
My formal education is all like neuroscience and psychology. That's like my nerdy half.
Mm-hmm.
So I take the nerd side, I bring it to the practical application side.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've got a class going on right now. I've got guys from Texas and up to Boston and out to Colorado, new officers, majors, everything in between. And they're doing gratitude practice.
Mm-hmm.
And we talk about the science behind it, but like they're sharing it with their families and their supervisors, and they're shifting like throughout their actual work shift just because of something simple like that.
I know, girlfriend. It sounds like you're a page right out of my course. You can. That's what
See,
that's
good.
yeah.
That's why
That's
we
like
connected.
the first thing that my officers do too, because
Yeah.
people don't understand. People don't understand what gratitude will actually do, and then like I get like really spiritual with it. So I'm like, all right, like you want to attract good things. Well, the first thing you have to do is actually be thankful for what you do have. Like you can't just say I want all this shit and not care about what you actually have. So
Right,
I
right.
love that you do that. Beautiful. And it's such a mindset shift. So, Sheepdog, anybody listening, I want you to pay attention to that. If you're finding yourself in a really bad place, mindset wise, or you're just feeling really grumpy or you're just feeling really stressed out, it's so simple to just start right now. You can pause this podcast and just say, like, what are like 10 or 20 things that you're thankful for? And let me help you. You can start, when you do this a lot, you start getting thankful for like the breath that in your
Mm-hmm.
lungs and the air and the chair you're sitting in, like you start getting really thankful for all those things that we take for granted, but it changes your life. Wouldn't you say, Carrie?
Yeah, it's everything. And I mean, since you practice it, I'm sure you do this too. I leverage gratitude. Like I do it every morning with
Mm-hmm.
my morning routine. But then when things are hard, I do more. So when I have a conflict with my husband, okay, cop, Marine, a lot of type A, a lot of
Yes.
stubbornness going on in this household.
Yes.
So if we have a conflict,
Mm-hmm.
before it continues, I go and I write all the reasons I'm grateful. Like I have
Mm-hmm.
a husband that wants to be with me and I wake up to every morning.
Mm-hmm.
I know that not everybody has that. I mean, how lucky am I? Even when he pisses me off, how lucky am I? He's still there.
Right.
Right? I've got 3 kids under the age of 6. Sometimes they drive me a little crazy.
Yeah.
And I have to write down all the reasons I'm grateful for their strong, independent personalities
Mm-hmm.
so I don't lose my mind.
Right.
And then you do the same thing at work, right? You get a bad domestic, you get like a bad death investigation, whatever. Write down why you're grateful. And now how you perceive that trauma totally starts to shift.
Mm-hmm.
And so like we can use it every day and it's amazing. Obviously I'm a strong advocate for it.
But it's awesome. And you know what's even more awesome, and so obviously you're on Changing the Culture podcast, right? So I'm really, as you are, I'm really big about that, right? So
Yeah.
what I love though is look at the shift as we're asking, we're asking officers to do something that they don't typically ever do, right? And it seems so
Right.
far out of reach, but it's so simple. And yet when they start doing it, talk about the results with us. Like what are your people, what do they have for results?
Yeah. So it's actually been shown that we can decrease stress and anxiety by 30% just by doing a gratitude practice. Like this is, I have it, look, like this is it. This is all you need. Everyone's got this. If you don't, guess what? I'll send it to you.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
A
That's
pen and a
it.
paper. Every first responder has a pen and a paper.
Exactly. Right? If not 50 of them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just so simple. So as you do that, now we talk about being proactive to what cops really struggle with on the mental health side, right? Like we know what kills cops. We know it's not guys on the street. We know it's ourselves. Well, forget awareness and mental health symposiums and all that stuff. Like I'm not knocking them completely, but that's
No, I'm
all
with you.
reactionary,
Oh, 100%.
right? It's
But
all
that's
after the
what
fact.
police
They don't
work
need you
is.
now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we were conditioned to this knee-jerk reaction.
Yes.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, why don't we just get ahead of it and not have those problems in the first place?
I love it. So if I were to come and if I wanted to come in and join one of your programs, can you tell me what it would be like?
Yeah, so right now, my main virtual program, it's Triad Leadership. I have a phenomenal business partner. He's out of the Denver area. He is a recently retired cop. He is a pro fighter, has MMA gyms, all that stuff.
Oh
So
my
he does a
goodness.
lot of, yeah, he is phenomenal. He does a lot of the coaching expertise stuff. So we do 6 weeks online,
Mm,
and we get to do the training, for an hour at the beginning of the week, and then we actually get to implement what we learned, and then we get to coach you through it. So you're
cool.
not just getting information, right? Like for 6 hours, it's not just like a regular in service, because we all know that you listen to that stuff, you take notes, and then it goes somewhere,
Yes. We
right?
all
Like
know that.
wherever
Yeah.
in the bottom of a bag.
Mm-hmm.
So you get the 6 weeks and you get to be coached through it. And the guys in there right now, I had one guy, he's been on 10 years. He was ready to leave his agency. He was like, it's toxic. I don't want to be here. I don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And our whole program is called Becoming the Change Agent.
Mm,
And he not only, within 3 weeks, he's not only not leaving, he's actually taken some of our training to his shift and his supervisors. And they're now kicking off their muster with gratitude practice and talking
amazing.
about fears. And yeah, they're taking all this stuff. So I'm like, we're getting culture shift indirectly,
Mm,
like just because our students are believing it and they're taking it back to their agencies.
yeah.
And that's what it's all about.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it so much. So where did you okay, so where did you learn this, or what happened to you specifically? Was there a shift? Was there a time? Was there an incident where you were just like, I am done with this shit and we need to change the culture? Or what happened with you?
Yeah, there is one exact moment that happened. So that second agency where I was miserable, I tolerated it for about 2 years. And I finally came home one day and my husband looks at me and he goes, "You're not fun to be married to anymore." I was like,
Mm,
"Oh, ouch. Like, thanks for the honesty." I
yeah.
appreciate it. Glad he said something instead of like out of nowhere, blindsiding with like a divorce or something a year down the road. But he was like, "You've changed." And here I was like, "No, no,
Yeah.
that's professional. Like, I don't bring stress from work home. What are you talking
Right.
about?"
Right.
It's
Right.
totally separate.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, "You used to come home exhausted, but still counting down to when you got to put your belt on and go back to work." He was like, "And your
Mm,
worst days, the trial, the rough cases, whatever." He was like, "You still couldn't wait to go back and do more." He was like, "Then we moved and all these things happened. And you complain about going to work. You text me halfway through telling me that you're pissed off about something."
yep.
He's like, "And then you come home." He's like, "And I don't want to spend time with you. And you're so grumpy, you don't even notice."
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "Okay." So I've now changed. The cancer has taken over my life. And I was like, then I'm done, because what's more important? I'm like, I've got my marriage, I've got my kids. I need to take care of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then what do I do? I'm like, well, I can read. I'm educated. I have the firsthand experience. Like, I can talk to cops.
Yeah.
I'm not someone with a desk job who is telling cops how they should be doing things.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
And then I started, I've just been researching and studying and collaborating, for 3 years now. And I've been teaching all over the country the past 2.
Amazing. And so,
So,
yeah, so like, how are the agencies? Like, how are they receptive? Are you reaching out to them and like, hey, I have this thing? Or are you like, are they coming to you? Like the reason I'm
all
asking
the
you that,
above.
yeah, the reason I'm asking you that is because some agencies they don't tend to be as proactive, or, you know what I mean?
Right.
Progressively wanting to help first responders.
Yeah, no, I agree. So I, caught my like big break more or less because the command and staff college found me, and they actually recruited me into being an instructor for them. And then once I started taking it all over the country and I got to teach just command and staff, then I got to keynote at like the chief and sheriff's conferences. So then I was able to spend days with like just the decision makers at the very top
Yeah.
and help them connect some of the dots, some of the things that they had forgotten over the last 25, 30 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Since they moved to behind a desk. We obviously need all those pieces, but the guy at the bottom and the guy at the top don't ever talk to each other.
No.
Right?
Most of
Unless
the
they're
time in the medium to bigger size. Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the medium to bigger size. Yeah. The small is different, but so we get to have those conversations, and then I get to kind of walk them through and even take them like down memory lane a little bit. I'm like, go back to how you viewed a sergeant before you were one. How did you view a lieutenant before you were one?
Right.
And so on. And they're like, oh yeah, we shifted, we forgot, we start to close communication gaps. So there's a learning curve, like as far as getting agencies involved. And then others are like, what do you have?
Yeah.
We saw you in command and staff, like we liked what you're doing. I do just culture shift for command and staff. And then they, now they call me and they're like, hey, you taught all of our commanders, like, what do you have for our agency? So that's the preferred way.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I like getting the phone calls a lot better.
Right. Oh yeah. I know. Well, that's cool. And I love that, it seems like you've worked with a lot. I looked on your website. It seems like you've worked with a lot. So it's like they're becoming more open to it, clearly.
Yes, it has. Like I said, it's taken about 2 years. It's taken a lot of no's. When I first started, I actually trained military first, went straight to Marines, and then circled back to law enforcement because I was like, those are my people. I need to be back. I miss, I miss them. I miss those conversations. I miss that kind of heart. That's where I need to be.
Yeah.
So by the time I circled back, I spent 6 months of getting no on every single phone call.
Mm-hmm.
Like straight up no. I probably said I was going to quit like 150 times.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to go back and remind myself like why I wanted to do it and what I was here to do. And that luckily drove me forward because I think I was in front of 125, 29 agencies last year.
Well, and what would you say, what is your why? Like what keeps you going? Because this isn't easy what you're doing.
Yeah. Oh, right. It's not easy. So other than coffee assisting me along the way, I truly, and I write out my mission statements, I see it every day, to eliminate toxicity at work. Like that's it. Because I've experienced the good and the bad, and now I'm literally living my dream, doing like only what I love to do. It pains me to see people, especially law enforcement, like who are sacrificing and they have the servant hearts. Like, you guys know that most of the world would never put on a uniform of any sort, right? And so we forget because all of our friends are in uniform. But that being said, it's okay, if they're already sacrificing, they shouldn't be counting down to the weekend and then dreading like Monday going back.
Right.
It's such a ridiculous way to live, and it's not fair. Simply like we all deserve so much more, and especially a profession as challenging and dangerous and noble as law enforcement. Like you should love it the times that you're there, because otherwise, like if you don't love what you're doing, why are you risking so much for it?
So true. And it seems like we as officers, we risk so much. Like you said,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people, they do have issues in their marriage, or they have money issues, or they gain weight, or they become very depressed. They become very,
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't even want to say shallow, but really shallow. Like, it's just a job.
Yeah.
They go home and they watch TV, or they play video games, and they get up and go do the job again. Like, they really lose
Mm-hmm.
this concept of life because they're trying to cope and don't know how. And
Right.
right. And what are we doing to help them? Well, you're out there, you're doing big things, which I really appreciate. But I mean, for by and large, like, a lot of agencies sit back and they're like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know, man. You better toughen up. You better toughen up. I went through that, and you got to toughen up, right?
Yeah. It's that this is the way it's always been done kind
Mm-hmm.
of attitude. And I see that a lot, especially when I train like more senior. They've got all the experience and wisdom in the world, and it's great to have a seat at those tables.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's like, wait, we have to cater to like the younger guys coming in. I'm like, if you want to keep recruiting, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you do. I mean, don't change the job, but yeah, you've got to speak to what they want. You've got to paint this picture, not a fake picture, but paint this picture of these are the challenges. Like
Mm-hmm.
relationships get hard. Shift work kind of sucks. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's dangerous.
Yep.
And they're like, well, people won't come if we do that. I'm like, no, you tell them that. And then you say, and you have the opportunity to take care of those who can't do it for themselves and to really save lives and make an impact and do all the other things that you get to do through law enforcement.
Yeah.
I'm like, but why do we keep the challenges a secret?
Right.
So then we get these cops who are totally blindsided by it,
Mm-hmm.
or like you said, well, toughen up. You'll be fine.
And that's
It's
the
not a problem.
mindset.
Toughen up.
Yep, that's the mindset. Toughen up. I can't tell you how many times I got told that when I first started, which is to an extent. Like, I just want to like throw that out there. To an extent, like, we need that, right? Like,
You got to
you,
be tough to do the job.
yeah, because we can't be having, we can't be having like weak people, we can't be
Mm-hmm.
having stuff like that, in, right? But at the same time, I'll never forget this, Carrie, is my first, like, what, week on the job ever. I got my first dead body. And for a 20-year-old girl, that was like devastating. I had never seen a dead body ever. And it was
Mm-hmm.
devastating to me. And it was really hard. And like, my FDO was like, hey, you got to go deal with it. And I'm like, what? Like, what? And then, you gotta do all these things, you gotta move it, to
Uh-huh.
make sure
Uh-huh.
there's no knives under it, and like just all this shit. And I'm like, that really messed with me. Like,
Yeah.
but nobody would talk to me about it. And once it was done, it was like, geez, your face looks like you've seen a ghost. I'm like, well, I practically just did.
Basically, yeah, one step before.
Yeah, yeah, and you're not helping me out, and like, and I couldn't, I tried to talk to my parents, but they like, whoo, like, and then so I didn't have anybody to talk to, and I just compartmentalized. And what do? We shove things
Mm-hmm.
down, and as I was shoving it down, later on, when I had my first fatal, or my first overdose that ended up in a death, like all
Mm-hmm.
that shit, like it just compounds, and
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know how to handle it. And so I personally developed a lot of anxiety, got diagnosed with PTSD and an anxiety disorder, which is very common for first
Yeah,
responders.
I would say it's almost to be expected,
Yeah.
right? Because most people can go their whole lives without seeing any dead bodies or any
Mhm.
sort of domestic abuse or any of those things. And then you see it day in and day out. And you're right, we bottle it up. And I remember the first time that I broke, and I'm very fortunate that my husband's a Marine and he's done all combat tours. So like, while crazy to anyone outside, we could sit and like compare dead body stories, and it was
Yeah.
our way
Yeah.
of coping, and it was totally
Mm-hmm.
normal.
Mm-hmm.
Even though, I mean, probably like highly advised against by all kinds of professionals, but it worked for us.
Oh.
But I mean, I did the same thing. I was like, well, you don't show emotion, like it's part of the job. And I had a 2-week period where I had 2 unnatural deaths every single shift.
Damn.
And I was like, I was distancing, I was doing this where like homicide saved me as Black Widow in their phone because they're
Wow.
like, when Carrie comes to work,
Mhm.
people die. And I was like, that's a
Oh.
terrible reputation. Like, that's
Yeah.
awful.
Yeah.
Like, fire knew it. Like, they get an elevator and they're like, shit, And like the guys who didn't know, they're like, no, if you ever see Carrie, you're either going to have a dead body, a crazy person, or you're about to get punched in the face.
Oh,
Like,
shit.
none of those are good. None of those. My shifts were always very exciting. But, I finally broke. I like went to my husband and I was like, I can't. I was like, what do I do? I was like, I'm going to go to work tomorrow and someone's going to die. I was like, it's happened the last 14 days. Like, why wouldn't it happen tomorrow?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, well, you could have said something a week ago. You could have said, he's like, yeah, it's not normal. Let's talk about it. But if I didn't have him, I
Right.
guess I would have just dealt with it.
Yeah.
And, swallowed my own PTSD and figured
Mm-hmm.
it out. And,
And then who knows where you'd be right now,
and then
right?
who knows? Right. Exactly.
Would you say that now you're like are you like the happiest you've been? Would you say you're really happy?
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. And I didn't even really have a lot of issues while I was in law enforcement. I
Mm-hmm.
had like the couple like recurring nightmares or like bad things, some of those stuff. But I didn't really feel like super stressed out, other than like small incidents here and there. And then when I left law enforcement, I had a total identity crisis because people were like, "Oh, tell me about yourself." Well, I'm a cop.
But you're
I'm like,
not.
well, right, but like that's your job. Tell me
Yeah,
about
yeah.
yourself. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's all I do.
Mm-hmm.
Always.
Mm-hmm.
And I left. I didn't know what to do. I had some postpartum depression with that kid, with kid number 2, and like I was suicidal. I was like, I'm lost. My Marine is unavailable. I don't have a job. Like, what now?
Mm-hmm.
And I really started to hone in on a lot of this mindset training. Really took that gratitude to heart and brought myself out of it.
Who inspired you to do that?
One of my mentors, so a business mentor of mine, and she literally was like, if you can't do something as simple as gratitude, she's like, then I can't help you. She's like,
Mm-hmm.
you won't find success anywhere else if you can't put pen to paper
Yeah.
and take care of yourself first.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, you can't pour into people from an
Mm-hmm.
empty cup. Like,
Yeah.
she's like, you servant heart types, you're the hard ones. You
Mm-hmm.
never want to take care of yourself. And she definitely set me straight, but it's been a journey.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Absolutely. I can relate to that. And so you're out there, you're doing big things. What's next? What do you got going? What can people look forward to? They're going to come and want to hang out with you. Like what can they look forward to? What do you got going?
I always have something new going.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so what's next is I pretty much always do the same thing, just bigger and better and with more people. So if you start to follow me, that is what I do. I do have that online course I was talking about, Becoming the Change Agent. We've gone through 2 sessions now. We're 4 weeks in to our 6th week of our session 2. And then the next one is starting the end of June.
Okay.
So session 3 is coming up. And it's even better that it's virtual because now we get people from all over the country.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it doesn't matter where you're in law enforcement, like everyone's doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And so it really, like, we get to build this really phenomenal community through it, which is my favorite part, and
Yeah.
like, then they all, learn from each other.
Yeah.
Because like I said, we've got rookies, we've got majors, we've got detectives in the middle,
Yeah.
but they all have the same challenges. They all have the same fears. Like, they all need the same thing.
Yep.
So, but yeah, that's the next thing going on. Is session 3 is launching on June 28th.
Nice. And so where can people
Yeah.
find out about that?
Yeah, go to mindsetenterprise.net. That is my company. And you can go and read all about Team Triad. Team Triad is service, purpose, and mindset, and is made up of me, Jared, and our students. Because without students, Jared and I would just be Carrie and Jared.
Yeah.
Right? We need students if we're going to be trainers. And, even with that, I'm sure you can drop like a link or a comment, but for your audience, I really want to give a discount code for registration.
I love that.
I
Thank you.
never want, of course, I never want cost to be like a reason why people don't help themselves and don't become better, because it's just dollars and cents, and that's silly.
Yes.
So
Beautiful. Okay, and so we'll put you'll give me the code and then
Yep.
we'll put it in the show notes. So any
Okay.
sheepdogs listening, I want you to look right into the show notes right underneath this podcast and you'll be able to go right to Carrie's website and you'll be able to get the coupon code so you can get a kick-ass discount for this
Yeah.
program, which sounds amazing. Carrie, where can they find you on the socials?
I am Real Carrie Wooten, Facebook and Instagram. And then LinkedIn, I'm probably on the most. Of course, I'm Carrie Wooten on LinkedIn. But
Awesome.
LinkedIn is where you'll probably get most of my stuff, and my content and my videos and random free things and whatever else I can do.
Love that. Okay. And we'll connect your stuff and so that
Okay.
everybody can find you very easily. So that will be great.
Yeah.
And what would you give us one thing that you would like to leave Sheepdog Nation with before we turn it over to mastermind members?
Sure. So, Sheepdog Nation, just keep in mind that you don't have to be everything for everybody.
Mm,
And while I know that your servants, servant hearts, that's always first, you've got to take care of you.
mm,
Because if you're not better, if you're not phenomenal, if you're not at the top of your game, then everyone else around you suffers.
mm,
You're doing them a disservice. So
yeah.
it's actually a responsibility to further develop yourself.
Mm. I love that. Thank you, Carrie.
Sure.
Sheepdog Nation, make sure you go check out the show notes and you can stay tuned. I'm going to ask my mastermind members just to make sure that they don't have any questions or see what they have for us. And then at the end of the show, keep going because I'm going to be putting on some police music. Shout out to One Time Music. He's a police officer and he's a hip hop artist. Carrie, you got to listen to him. He's amazing.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, it'll be at the end of this episode. I always throw his music on because it's just so amazing. So, mastermind members, do you have anything? Do you have any questions? Shan, Corinne, do you guys have anything? You want me to? Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, honey.
Um, well, I guess my question would be more, I supervise people. So my one thing I struggle with is when I find that people don't necessarily listen. So what are your recommendations for addressing that while not making people feel like they're attacked or being belittled or looked down upon because
Yeah,
it's respected. So
sure. That's a great question. And the fact that you're thinking, how do I do this and make sure I'm not offensive or belittling or anything like that, that already puts you above a number of other supervisors anyway. Just ask them. I mean, literally ask them because people will tell you how they want to be communicated with, and they'll tell you what they want if they get the opportunity, like the very blatant, obvious, direct opportunity to say it. And I, especially as a supervisor, we need to make sure that communication goes both ways. So ask them, hey, what can I do for you? Like they're technically working for you, right? Working under you. So they know that as far as a formality goes. But hey, subordinates, what can I do better? And how can I make sure I'm an asset to you? Now you've opened that up and they're like, wait, my supervisor wants my input. My supervisor wants my opinion on how they can lead better. Now you've done something that's almost unheard of.
right.
And that opens trust, it opens communication. And now they're like, oh, wait, maybe we'll listen a little bit more because now you have a two-way communication street, not just supervisor down to subordinate.
Makes sense.
Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay.
I love that. Thank you, Carrie.
Sure.
Thank you, Shannon.
Well,
And I don't think that Corinne is I think she's not able to talk. I'm going to assume that. Carrie, thank you so much for joining us. Sheepdog Nation, we'll see you next time.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
What's up, Sheepdog Nation?